The Nissan X-Trail uses 3 independent bulbs in the rear light cluster. One is a double filament T30/580 for the tail lights and braking lights, rated at 21 and 5 watts. The second is an orange PY21W bulb, rated at 21 watts for the direction indicators. The third is a 21 watt Big Cat Plus T20/582 bulb for the reversing lights. So here's a quick photo showing the tail light and brake light, the indicator bulb and the reverse bulb. Other than a new bulb or two, we just need a 10mm socket to undo the 2 small bolts, possibly a mini torque wrench to tighten to 5.4 Nm, and maybe a soft plastic lever to act as a pry bar. So I'm just going to get into the car and confirm exactly which bulbs are not working. So ignition on, and that's the daylight. So the left daylight isn't working. We've got left indicator, right indicator, got the brake lights. So it's just the left daylight. Probably doesn't need explaining, but there's the 10mm socket, a mini torque wrench, which you probably don't need, and a new bulb. So step 1 is to remove those 2 10mm bolts. So here's a quick photo to show bolt 1 and bolt 2. So there's one bolt and there's the other bolt. So we'll speed this part up and we'll just get those out. And once those are out, the light is still fixed in position by 3 popping clips sort of thing. So we've got to get those out yet. You can see it's moving there but not coming free. Step 2 is to pull the combination light backwards. So here's a photo to show you those 3 pop-in clips that we need to pull back on. So now we need to simply get a good grip and pull that light cluster firmly backwards. And there it is. Now I'll show the 3 bulbs there. And as you can see at the top, it almost looks like there's a place there for a light, but on my car there isn't anything there. Step 3 is to turn the bulb socket counterclockwise to unlock it and replace the bulb. Okay, so we turn it counterclockwise. That's clockwise, now counterclockwise. The wiring is quite tight there. And then the bulb comes out, and it's a capless bulb. It's quite a large one, probably the size of your thumb. And there's 2 elements in that one. Like I say, one for the tail light and one for the brake light. And it's obviously the tail light part that's blown, the brake part still intact. So I'm going to change that for a ring, like so. You can see the 2 elements there clearly. So that's a RB580 from ring. So we just push that bulb into position. Now technically you don't want to get grease on the bulb, it can shorten the life of the bulbs. So I'm just going to wipe that over with a bit of isopropanol alcohol to remove my fingerprints, and then we can pop it in and turn it clockwise like so. So just before I actually pop it back on, I'm going to pop a little bit of Vaseline on these little pop clips so that next time I remove it, it should be a little bit easier to pull the light cluster rearwards. So with that done, just make sure the wiring grommet, this one here, is definitely seated because you don't want water to run inside the car. Checking the bulbs again, and then we can just line it up and push it into position. Step 4 is to replace the 2 bolts and tighten them to 5.4 Nm. So technically it does say in the manual to use a torque wrench and 5.4 Nm, which is not a lot at all, but as it says in the manual, we'll do what it says. So we pop the 2 bolts back in using our 10mm socket, and then using our little torque wrench, which is ideal for bicycles. We shall. There we go. So that's technically correct. Now to check all the lights are working. So let's speed this up a bit. What have we got? Daylights, brake lights, left indicator, right indicator, reverse lights, and brake lights again. All is working, jolly good. And if the light cluster is really stuck, you may need to use a plastic pry tool. So I'm just going to demonstrate using a pry tool on the other side. So I'll take those 2 bolts out. So this one will be quite stuck. Now it's better to use something completely plastic. I've only put a bit of plastic on a metal lever, which is probably not the best idea because you could scrape the paint. So it's better to actually use a completely plastic, ideally a soft plastic tool. And the idea is obviously you pull it, like you can see there. Now while I'm at it, this one seems a bit tighter. I'm just going to pop a bit of Vaseline on those 3 catches. Now notice that the electrical grommet just pulled out there. So make sure that is pushed back in. Otherwise, on a rainy day, the water will run down there and go straight inside the back of the car. Now that won't be good. Okay, so the grommet's definitely pushed back in. We'll pop that into position. No bulbs to change on that side. And we'll tighten all those back up. Like I say, you probably don't need a torque wrench for this. It's just basically hand tight. And that's that job done then. And some close-up photos of the old bulbs. So starting with the double filament one, which is the brake and tail light. And this is the orange indicator bulb, which is like a conventional type. And then lastly the reversing bulb, which is a single element capless. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.